Okay, so the weird thing about using YouTube on your phone is you have like time limits. So sorry for the weird cutoff. And this is all, of course, improv, and I'm just kind of rambling. But basically, so P3 was about every time there's a moonlight, you could go to a tower and you would like train, and in case you wait until the last minute, your characters would get fatigued when you're climbing the tower. But on the night before the full moon, your characters would be full of energy, and you could just like climb the mountain or climb the tower and prepare yourself for the next day, which would be the full moon, and then story events would happen. P4 was a little weird. They got rid of that. They started to like separate. Like I feel like P4 is the biggest. Like, hey, we want Persona to be not a Mega 10 game. So they got rid of Moonlight and went with the weather system. Basically, it would be sunny for a couple days, and then it would get cloudy, and then it would rain, and then fog would roll in. And so basically that would be every month, or about every month. And so the goal was to complete a dungeon before the fog rolled in. Once the fog rolled in, some story events would happen, and the characters would have failed. Basically, every main character had like their own little dungeon, which again, I feel is like the best way to. I thought was the best way to do a Persona game, because like I said, I like the characters of P3, but the dungeons and the stories that went around the P3 characters didn't really relate to them. The reason why I like P4 is there's an overarching story going on, but every dungeon has something to do with the characters. Like all the characters you get to play as or will control or whatever. And so they would have their own internal issues. And so if you didn't like complete the dungeon, they would die, and then like you wouldn't be able to recruit them in your party. And so there would be some magic. I think that's the clock would roll back a week or something, and you could try again. So that was kind of cool. I don't know what happens in this. Because I'm always the one who's like, well, let's do the dungeon stuff because that's the game, or that's the like RPG part of it. I'm like, let's get that taken care of. And so like again, I think earlier on I was complaining where it's like the dungeons are now big enough where I feel like you have to do it in 2 parts at least. So like the first dungeon was sorry about that. The first dungeon was basically split into 2 days for me. Because I thought, oh, there's going to be a boss at the end of the dungeon. I should probably split this into 2 days. Like, my characters are tired. And when I mean tired, I mean we didn't have any SP, and we had SP as magic. So we couldn't do any skills. We couldn't do any of our magic abilities. And so my characters were pretty weak. Weak in the sense of we could just attack. And then normally in a Persona or a Mega 10 game, you can't just slash your way through and win. You have to exploit weaknesses and cover up your weaknesses and all this stuff. And so I was like, okay, well, there's gonna be a boss at the end of this dungeon. Like, I'm not gonna be stupid and like get to the end and be pissed off that I couldn't beat the boss. Well, turns out you should probably work on getting the dungeon done in 1 day, because once you complete the dungeon, you have to do this thing called a calling card, which is what we're doing right now, and we've decided that we're gonna do a calling card. Now, the only catch is, once you do the calling card, you can only, You can only do a calling card once per palace. So you have to be prepared. So you have to have enough money, buy all the stuff you want, do all of this stuff, right? So now I'm debating, like, do I do it at the end? Because there's, like, numerous ways to make money now. You get part-time jobs. You now get 2 part-time jobs. So you can get a part-time job in the afternoon, and you can get a part-time job in the evening. But I haven't figured out how to get a part-time job in the evening yet. Hell, I have a part-time job. I can't figure out how to go to it. I mean, that's another complaint I have about this game, is I feel like P3 wasn't that big. P4 wasn't that big either. It had big-ish moments, but it felt confined. P5, I mean, it's cool that it's in Tokyo, but, like, I'm not from Tokyo, and, like, the busing system, or the subway system is confusing. I can't find shops. I can't really find characters to do social links with. Sorry, they're not social links. They're confidants. That's kind of confusing. There's a lot of like I feel like this is a PS2 game, but then I feel like it's not. Another reason why I say that is when you get to like the RPG part, they're like, oh, we have to change this because RPGs aren't like what they used to be, so we have to change that. But then they didn't change anything else. So like social links or confidants, like why couldn't they just be like a click of a button? Like I can't, like if I want to go be friends with someone, like I don't know how to easily go do that. I have to go hunt them down. I do get text messages with them, but that's if they're fully ranked and they're ready to level up. But if I'm like, hey, where the fuck are you? It's like, well, where do I find this person? I mean, I feel like that's kind of weird. Like, I feel like it's weird that they're like, oh, we have to change these aspects, but let's not change, like, the other parts of Persona. And I'm like, I feel like everything about Persona is kind of a little bit outdated. I don't know. I feel like there's just little things like that that can be kind of frustrating. And like I said, I've just started playing. And then, like, of course, the other thing about Persona is there's always like the opening part where it's like they have to like handhold you, and then the whole like you being able to make choices and making options and making friends starts to open up. So I just got to that part, but then I'm like, I want to do the dungeon because like I've like not been able to do dungeon stuff. And I think that's it. And I feel like I haven't covered much spoilers. Oh yeah, I forgot this is a new video, so I should probably put spoiler tags. So spoilers. But hey, my other gripe about spoilers is, why are you looking for this stuff if you just wanna play the game? I mean, you may be some people who can't play the game, and I'm sorry. And I hope like maybe this is a way that if you can't easily get a hold of the game, that this is a way you can experience it and enjoy it. I mean, I'm also not the biggest YouTube person. I don't think it's gonna push my YouTube personality because this is all improv and I haven't really made a lot of jokes, and it's kind of awkward that I'm holding a camera and doing this thing. Like I said back in the first video, this is out of rebellion of Atlas's rules that they put into place. So this is not really meant to really be a place for Let's streamers. I mean, if this does take off, cool. If it doesn't, at least I'm part of the rebellion, and I hope other people would follow suit. I mean, you haven't really seen much, but let's go ahead and like start playing some stuff here. So we're talking about sending out the calling card, and Morgan. I'm just gonna refer to it as Morgan. I feel like it's not Morgan, but every time I read it as Morgan. So I'm gonna read that person's name as Morgan. And I'm sorry. But yeah, basically just going over how the calling cards work. Ryuju's is like, yeah, I don't really get this. So I feel like I'm always gonna blind his name. Can I just call him Ryu? Is it? I think that's gonna be okay. I'm just gonna call him Ryu. Ryuji. I feel like is like a hybrid of kanji, but not the sexually questioning part of kanji. Oh, I hope that doesn't get me flagged. I know YouTube has like weird rules now, but basically kanji has moments where he's not sure about his sexuality. But he's also a punk kid, and I feel like that's the part where they're like, oh, everyone loved the punk kid part, so let's take that. And I also feel like he's like Yosuke. So, but not a lot of Junpei moments. I mean, he does like baseball. He's talked about baseball before, and Junpei was really big into baseball. So maybe they took all of that aspects. I don't know what. Oh shoot. Power of technology. I'm gonna have to go charge my phone. So let me go get a phone charger. Oh, I apologize for that. For like 2 minutes of blackness. I ended up getting my super long. I guess you can't really see it, but I got my super long USB Type-C cable because I am recording on a Google Pixel phone. Oh, I hope I'm not advertising for Google or their Pixel phone. But yeah, so now I have a bunch of USB Type-C cables, especially with the Switch. Oh yeah, shout out to the Switch. Hopefully this won't now, if I end up making any money off these videos, now Nintendo and Atlas can gladly take all of the money that they make from these videos. But hey, I'm being a rebel, so I don't really care about the money. I care more about the spirit of streaming and the spirit of Let's Players. So, with that, let's actually do some more Let's Playing. So yeah, as I described earlier in like the first video, Morgan here explains that you have to make a decision on when you want to send the card out. And then, of course, because apparently modern games love to do this, they're like, oh, here's a little thing about tutorialization. It's like, okay, well, I understand that. Like, why couldn't I just have like a notebook or something? Like, why can't I have just in-game stuff? Explain this to me. I don't need like boxes of text that a character just explained to me. But anyways, maybe they just want to make sure that you understand all this crap. So yeah. And so now I have an option to send the card, hold the meeting, which means just talk to the people. You can go back to the palace. So this is like, oh, I went and fought the boss and my characters suck. Let me go level them up, or let me find more treasure. Because you treasure